I don't have a crystal ball, but I think we are going to see some softening in the inventory levels nationwide as more and more people realize they can't make the numbers work as easily as they could on short-term rentals as they did with long-term rentals. This is not even taking into account a number of governments, municipalities and organizations where they're starting to ban or restrict short-term rentals on top of that.
Check out the website simplepassivecashflow.com for podcasts, videos, articles, and free e-courses. If you guys have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to the team via email and we'll get you pointed in the right direction, whether it be an educational course or information about syndication deals. If you haven't read my book, The Journey to Simple Passive Cashflow, click the link below to get a free copy. Thanks to John and the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast. Our team is here to help you take the first step, or if you're a seasoned investor, then we're here to expand your reach into alternative investing.
Are you tired of trying to keep ahead in the rat race, only to have so much of your hard-earned money going to the tax collector? Equity doesn't pay the bills. Retirement savings don't pay you now, and there are only 24 hours in a day to work. The only solution is passive income that pays you 24/7 now, not 40 years from now. From vetted investment opportunities to tax saving strategies, let John guide you through all the confusion and take control of your financial life in pursuit of financial freedom. So sit back, relax, and welcome to the Wealth and Freedom Nexus.
You know, for the most passive returns in real estate investing, I like to put my money with Freedom Family Investments, a team I personally trust because they pay me steady streams of cash flow, hassle-free, all while doing the things I love. Returns are better and more reliable than the stock market, up to 12%. I love that tax benefits offset capital gains or your W-2 income. For a little insider pro tip, knowing who to trust is key to success in investing. Freedom Family Investments has a perfect track record of paying their investors right on time. To learn more, text family to 66866. If you want to invest on autopilot with people I personally trust and with a team who cares about you reaching your financial goals, go ahead and text family to 66866. Hey there, welcome back to another great episode of the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast. As always, I'm your host, John Rickgarn, and it has been a while since I did a solo episode, a variety of reasons. I was catching up on guest requests, both some that I reached out to and some that they had reached out to me. And with anyone out there that's a fellow podcaster, you know, sometimes plans just don't go quite according to plan. You know, you have no shows, you have people, oh, I got to reschedule, or, oh, this won't really work, or they don't get back to you with all the information or whatever the case may be. So as a backup, if you will, many times I try to have a solo episode where it's just me, one, to talk about a topic, and two, just to have, you know, built up buffer space, if you will. So hence I didn't announce what episode this is because I don't know where exactly I'm going to interject it in. So basically I wanted to start with a couple of things. Now, a lot of people talk about their best investment and their worst investment for any investors out there. And for this particular one, I am going to be focusing on real estate, and I'll kind of share my story. I will start out with the good news. My best investment that I've talked to a number of realtors, a number of people in the market that I've invested in. And yeah, I won't say impossible, but it's going to be nearly impossible to ever duplicate this deal. And as Jim Cramer always says, sometimes it's just better to be lucky than good. So I'll give a little backstory first. My wife has family down in Tucson, Arizona. And for many years, ever since we've been dating, we've gone down to Tucson, Arizona quite a few times. I think the first time I went, well, 2009 for sure. I want to say we went in 2007. I could be wrong, but 2009, generally would try to go there once a year, every other year. It kind of varied. And over the years, as our grandparents got older and we ourselves really loved the Tucson, Arizona area, just the climate, the people and everything. We had just kind of started kicking our heads like, gosh, what if we, got a place to rent here? And this was really kind of before the Airbnb and VRBO really took off, but have a place to have our own. We could use when we're down there, and when we're not down there, we can rent it and make some extra money. So that was kind of the game plan. That's what we looked at. And this was around 2018. And another side topic of this, you might have heard the lesson, your network is your net worth, because if it wasn't for my network, this would never have come into play. So like I said, let's see, this was, I'm trying to think here, early 2019, take it back, early 2018, excuse me. My wife was actually had a boot camp, I think it was, for her doctorate degree in Phoenix. So since we were in Phoenix, it's like, hey, let's go down and visit Tucson. And we just kind of started kicking around the idea. Hey, what if we get something, maybe a condo, a small house, just something we can stay at when we're down here versus paying, the hotel bills. And if we can make some money and have an increase in value, well, that's all the better even. So this was early 2018, just started kicking around. And then Heather had talked to her dad about this, my father-in-law. And it just so happened they were at the Legion, just kind of talking with some friends. It's like, yeah, my wife and son-in-law, they're kind of looking at coming down this area. At least you just have a place to stay, maybe an eventual retirement place. Oh, really? Funny thing, I got a friend that's actually looking at selling this condo. He doesn't really want to mess with the realtor. He'd like to just kind of keep it off the market. But if he found, the right person or the right people to take over it, he would be, more than thrilled with that. So just started talking and passed along my information. Now, like I said, we're in Minnesota. This is down in Arizona. So this was a condo that came about. I talked to the owner on the phone numerous times, and we ended up doing a video walkthrough. This, I believe, was April or May of 2018, somewhere in there. And my father-in-law took the video, walked through the unit, showcased it. He even said, it's really nice, really clean. Talked to the owner. What about the furniture? It's like, nope, all the furniture would stay. This would be fully furnished, everything. And so, okay, we're looking at this, and we decided, yeah, let's do, what can we come to an agreement on? So we decided, I think I'd still like to see this place. It looks good, but we decided to fly down ourselves. This was August of 2018. And it was kind of nice. The owner, he just always said, I know and rent to a lot of people in Minnesota, good people, never had any issues. So I don't have to meet you there. Here's a lockbox code. Go in, view it at your leisure. It's like, wow, that's really cool. So this was August of 2018. We toured it. We had talked to some realtors, looked at some comparables, and then price-wise, he just kind of came out. It's like, well, I was thinking just from what I looked at, $165,000. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards at this moment. So, okay, we agreed on that. But then as we came to it, we were negotiating a little bit. He already had renters banked out, or renters that were going to come in from, this was about November of 2018 to April of 2019. It's like, well, I've put in all the work, would want to be compensated for that, if you could bump up the offer more, so I don't lose out on that rent income. So again, as we were negotiating, and you'll notice in sales and anything real estate, negotiation is key. We wanted to create a win-win. It's like, okay, Mr. Owner, you own this property, you have some upcoming rent payments, you obviously want to get it. What if we put down, I think we did like $5,000 earnest money. This was September of 2018 to lock it in. We had put the contract together, but we wouldn't close until April 2019. That way, then once you have your last rental check, you get all the rents, obviously still pay all the bills, but you get all the rents. Once the last renter moves out, we start with the fresh slate and move on there. So as we talked back and forth, he was acceptable of that. And again, like I said, this came fully furnished. So I would say, bare bones, if I had to take a shot in the dark guess, probably about at least $10,000 worth of furniture in there. So $165,000, looked at some comparables. I'd seen the tax prices or tax valuations go up, and I know the owner had seen that as well. 165, and probably right out the gate was worth about 180, nothing major, but definitely some built-in equity, as you call it. So kind of ran the numbers, looked at it conservatively. Gosh, rented 5 to 6 months a year. more than covers our expenses, our fixed expenses with it. And then we could just use it for free when we're down there. So interesting tax tidbit. If you have a second home as a vacation piece, do know that you can use that up to 14 days a year tax-free. And if you are utilizing the tax code, getting depreciation, if you don't go past 14 days, you can use the depreciation past that. Now, what I mean by that, well, if you rented it for you stayed there yourself for 15 days or 6 months out of the year, but then you rent it out for the others. The tax code allows you that, okay, you can use depreciation to offset the income of just the income from the property. You cannot use this to offset your W-2 or 1099 income. So that's just a little bit of a 14-day notice tidbit, if you will, for anyone looking to maximize the tax benefits of a second home or a vacation home. Everyone's situation is different, and maybe you'd certainly like to use it more than that. But 14 days is the cutoff that you can still utilize all the depreciation against other forms of income and still have 14 days to stay in there free. So that's kind of just a general overview of where we were at. So then we ended up flying down April of 2019. We had signed the documents, closed on it, got the keys, and had already talked to the renter, or one of the renters, I should say, that wanted to rent it from us right away for the next season. They always, ironically, they're from Minnesota as well, and they want to rent it for the next season, and we're already get on the books. And when she first contacted me, I'm like, technically we're not the legal owners yet, so I think we got to wait for a little minute here. So it just was kind of a good feeling. It's like, alrighty, there's definitely some interest. There's definitely some repeat renters. Like, all in all, this is looking like a great deal, and it is, and it has been. So with that, once we get back from a quick little break from one of our sponsors, I will continue on the story of what happened from 2019 going forward.
Check out the website simplepassivecashflow.com for podcasts, videos, articles, and free e-courses. If you guys have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to the team via email, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction, whether it be an educational course or information about syndication deals. If you haven't read my book, The Journey to Simple Passive Cashflow, click the link below to get a free copy. Thanks to John and the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast. Our team is here to help you take the first step, or if you're a seasoned investor, then we're here to expand your reach into alternative investing.
All right. So continuing on, so we had taken ownership of the property mid-2019, and we had our first renter lined up in November of 2019 that year. So we had looked around and talked to a property management company. I'll just kind of keep this part of it short. First property management company, we're not all that impressed, but then come 2021, found a company we really like and have been with them ever since. So that has worked out well. So as I will allude to this on my flip episode of the worst real estate investment I have ever made. And that's an upcoming podcast. So be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss that one. But property management can really make or break any deal out there. I'll just leave that at that. So quick highlight. So like I said, we did this property in early 2019. Obviously, everyone knows COVID hit 2020, and then there was not a lot for moving in the travel and vacation industry at that. People couldn't go anywhere. However, as you probably noticed with the Fed, they ended up dropping rates like a rock. So I still remember in 2020 had purchased property and then refinanced 4 properties, including our primary home. And one of them was the condo. And at first I was thinking like, this is stupid. There's absolutely no way we can refinance. It's not going to make sense. We just bought this in 2019. We're just looking at just a little over a year. So just to give you a little background, our mortgage payment, not including the other expenses I'll get into in a minute, our mortgage payment, principal and interest, was about $656. Now, we had migrated to kind of a sole provider. At the time, it was Chemical Bank, and then they got bought by TCF, and now it's Huntington. But regardless, we were really impressed with the customer service with Sean at Chemical Bank. Like I said, banks get bought out and merged and migrated time in and time out, but I was really impressed with them. It's like, just shot in the dark. What does it look like? So I started running the numbers. And like I said, interest rates had dropped pretty significantly. So just to give you a background, if any of you have shopped for interest rates or, mortgage rates, they kind of have like a tier level almost for what banks prefer to lend on. If it is a primary home, owner occupant home, then condos tend to have a little bit more risk, so to speak. You got the HOAs, the covenants, the regulations, etc. Might be more transient, for instance, and could definitely be more towards rental opportunities in that regard. So here we are looking at the condo and looking at the rates. We were at, I'd have to look for sure. It was a little over 4%. I want to say 4.5, 4.8, somewhere in that. But regardless, our mortgage payment was $656. Now, in that time, the property had actually appreciated. We bought it for $165. It got appraised for $165. And just a year later, we did a cash out refinance. I think off the top of my head, it was like 189, 195, somewhere in that ballpark. But you think, oh gosh, nice little appreciation just for 1 year. So when it all said and done, and I was shocked when Sean sent the numbers. It's like, hey, we can roll all the closing cost, everything into the loan. Here's your new numbers. You can buy down the rate a little bit. Do you want to do that? Yeah, we would. So again, like I said, this is a vacation condo that is a second home that is used as a rental dwelling. Typically, any one of those variables will bump up the interest rate. We were able to lock in at 30 years at 2.875%, rolling all the closing cost into the loan, dropping our mortgage payment from about $656 to $575. So that is definitely been a game changer. And like I said, we had a little cash out refinance, nothing much, but took out some money and redeployed that as well. So immediately, okay, from a numbers perspective, we just saved almost $100, or excuse me, about $80 a month on our fixed cost. So that gives us a little bit more flexibility for renting, if the market gets soft or depending on the time of season. Now, typically in Arizona, we're kind of the oddballs. We go down there in the summer. However, not a lot of people vacation in Arizona. They look at the wintertime. They look at the snowbirds, and that's when people want to go there. And that's actually when is the high time of that. So 2019, when we got the property, we were actually a little under market. I think it was around $2,300, $2,400 a month. Tried to stay with medium-term renters as much as we could, and definitely worked out to their benefit and worked out our benefit. But just looking at some comps, like, okay, we're at about $2,300, and more of the comps are at $2,700, $2,900 per month for short-term rentals in the wintertime. But, we slowly ratcheted that up. And like I said, we just fixed one of the biggest expenses, the mortgage payment, dropped that to a 30-year fix down to $575 a month. Now, just to give you a quick little idea, today, if anyone wanted to find a similar condo, I would say best of luck in the Tucson, Arizona, same square footage, nice area. Maybe could get it for $250,000 or almost $100,000 more than we bought this for 4 years ago. Currently, rates are starting to drop a little bit. We'll see what they're, going into 2024, the election season. But I would say best case right now at the time of this recording for that type of property, like I mentioned before, condo, vacation home, etc., probably looking at 6%. Working the numbers, and I'll just pull it up from my calculator here, but you can, go online, pull whatever you want. So at a $250,000 purchase price, 75% loan to value, which a lot of places are going, versus 80%, takes a little bit of risk off the bank. 30-year fixed, 6% interest rate for that same condo at $250,000, which I think is generous. At 6% comes to $1,124.16. So if you're listening to this, you're thinking, okay, right now, if I was to buy that same condo, it'd be about double. In fact, even if I do, let's just say, so I think comparatively, so side topic, we were down there this last summer and saw a condo that was very similar to ours, 2-bed, 2-bath, similar square footage. And it was, quote, aggressively priced at $299,000 and sold pretty quickly. The agent actually choked when he found out, choked on his water when I told him what we had for an interest rate and what we got ours for. So, but just looking at, let's just say $299,000 by comparable, like I said, that was aggressively priced but similar to ours, $299,000. 75% loan to value, $224,250. Let's just round it to $225,000. Now, like I said, I kind of gave a best case scenario at 6%, but more than likely, I think very reasonable to say that we're going to be at 7%. So a $225,000 mortgage for 30-year amortized at 7% comes to just under $1,500 a month for the new mortgage payment. Now, you might be asking, why am I giving all these numbers? Why am I saying all this? And what does it really matter? For investors seeking DSCR financing, check out timothyhero.com. The guy has closed over 150 DSCR loans in the last 2 years and has been appearing on podcasts and written about by journalists. He's well connected with some of the best lenders in the game and can get you the financing for your rental properties. So with the numbers, we've seen a lot of movement in the short-term rental space, medium-term rental space. Kind of got to be that FOMO, fear of missing out. And a lot of people have jumped on the short-term rental bandwagon. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think we are going to see some softening in the inventory levels nationwide as more and more people realize they can't make the numbers work as easily as they could on short-term rentals as they did with long-term rentals. This is not even taking into account a number of governments, municipalities and organizations where they're starting to ban or restrict short-term rentals on top of that. So with the numbers, actually, we should back up one more second. The market has also gotten a little saturated where I've seen, some listings where they think, oh, we can get $200 a night or $250 a night. It's like, well, that might have been the case in 2021, 2022, but now with inflationary pressures and, typical economics 101, supply and demand, fewer people vacationing, fewer people traveling, and a lot of inventory to choose from, the renters are starting to get a little picky. So they have to look at dropping their price. Well, like I just mentioned, if my mortgage, and I'm just talking mortgage here, my mortgage is $600 a month. Someone jumped in the game late in the game and they're paying $1,100 a month, $1,200 a month, $1,500 a month, or heck, let's just even say $900 a month. Maybe they're kind of in between. I myself have a lot more wiggle room of what to charge and still meet my fixed expenses than a lot that are in the game. And really, it's pretty much down to the point of someone if had bought at the same time or bought all cash that they could be, realistically, competitive or be able to drop their rates where they're at. So quick numbers, like I said, we dropped the mortgage from $656 to $575, a cash out refinance fixed for 30 years, locked in at 2.875%. I don't think I'm ever going to see that number again in my lifetime. I could be wrong, but it is what it is. HOA fees are very, very reasonable. They've only had one increase in the 4 years we've had it. That went from $321 to $337 and change. We'll just say $337. Taxes, of course, go up as well. Comes to about $150 a month. Again, I'm just giving monthly numbers here. Insurance, right, wrong, or indifferent. Condo insurance typically is a little bit cheaper than what you're used to for your primary home, mainly because the condo insurance basically or the insurance you get, just covers the insides, covers from the essentially from the walls in. Now, anything exterior, the roof, the foundation, the maintenance, the outside piece of the condo, well, has a master umbrella insurance policy, usually through the condo association, and that's where the HOA fees come in as well. So part of the HOA fees pay for the insurance for the structure, if you will. And then rounding it out, Comcast, that's our internet. Obviously guests want pretty fast streaming internet, so that's about $116 a month. And Tucson Electric Power, this can fluctuate quite a bit. Well, we just decided to do budget billing. Obviously, the electricity goes up quite a bit when people are in there versus not, but that comes to about $139 a month for a grand total of $1,375.50 a month. That is our fixed cost per month that we have to meet month in and month out to basically pay the bills. And like I said, I just did the equation. If someone were to come in today, buy that same condo at today's prices, 30-year fixed, 7% interest rate, well, they're at about $121 above what my entire monthly bill is. So that kind of gives me a nice strategic advantage for pricing. I can be a little bit more aggressive, especially in the off seasons, summer, whether it's an insurance person or traveling nurse or whatever the case may be. So it definitely gets little bit more flexibility. And so I'm actually going to kind of round this out here and finish up the episode. But in totality, like I said, when we started it, we inherited some, past renters, what they were used to paying, and we were a little under market, about $2,300. Now going into 2024, we actually have reservations from November of 2023 all the way to April or May of 2024. I can't remember exactly, but we are getting close to $3,600 per month. Granted, this is a mix of stays. I think we got a 1 monther, I think we got a 2 monther, and I think 3, and there's a few other scatterings in there as well. So if I just do this quickly, so if we're able to get about $3,600 on average per month, and if we can do that on the peak seasons, the winter seasons, basically. November for sure, sometimes even October, but November through April is pretty much always a given in that area. If you have it priced right, you have good amenities, what people are looking for, $3,600 a month gets to $21,600 annual gross revenue. Obviously, there's some other stuff in there, but basically covers all our needs. And probably the best thing about this, like I mentioned, if this was priced today, like I said, we saw a comparable condo when we were down there this last summer that was, quote, aggressively priced for $299. Looking at comps, looking at the Tucson market, because the Arizona market has really been on fire the last number of years with migration from other areas, especially California, definitely has seen an uptick. And while some little softenings and could be a softening in the future, buying it for $165, 4 years later, almost doubling in value, plus having a locked-in interest rate, the personal benefit of having a place to stay, and eventually maybe our retirement place, we're not sure. But all in, if I can say, this really has been the best real estate investment I made. And like I said, sometimes it's just better to be good. Better to be lucky than good. Our initial intention was to have a place to stay when we were visiting. Never anticipated the appreciation, never anticipated the mortgage rates going down, never seeing the huge jump where we were able to get in rental rates, and still, like I said, still have the flexibility to lower the rates, depending on what we are getting per month to make sure that we cover all our fixed expenses. So with that, I'm going to end on that note. I just wanted to share that story because I think a lot of people and investors like to say, what's been your best investment, or what I don't see a lot of, what's your worst investment. So I did want to share what I feel has been one of my best investments in the real estate game. Probably not going to be duplicatable in the near future. Definitely was some luck, but definitely was, some research, being in the right place at the right time and managing it appropriately. So with that, I'm going to sign off for this episode. If this is the first time you're joining us, be sure to hit that subscribe button, where later on, before the end of the year, I will be sharing the worst real estate investment I've ever made and how I have worked through that and what I've learned from that more than anything. So be sure to stay tuned for that, and we'll come back to you next Wednesday with another episode of the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to share, rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. For more updates, check out www.wealthandfreedomnexus.com. Remember, nothing on this show should be considered tax, legal, investment, or professional advice. This show is produced solely for educational and informational purposes. Please consult an appropriate and licensed tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for specific advice for your situation. For distribution or publication rights or media interviews, please contact the host.